Welcome back to the show, everybody. My name is Alex, and I'm joined today by Mandy York, our content trainer and video trainer here at Impact, and also just an AI sort of guru. I feel like you've been on the leading curve of this. I'm so excited to talk with you. Welcome to the show, Mandy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you here. So we're talking today about AI, but more importantly, we're talking about how you can implement AI in your business. And I know there's a lot of fear around this, but I talked with Bob on the show last week, and he brought up something really interesting to me. He was talking about switching the approach. Usually in companies, it's a top-down approach, right? Like leadership will say something, it trickles down, people execute on those things, right? But this experimentation that we're doing with AI inside of our own organization has flipped that, where he's really challenged us to start from the bottom up and bring it up. And you really just took the ball and ran with it. So I'd love to, if you could just like set the stage, tell everybody a little bit about the background of where this started, and like we can get right into it. I'm just excited to hear this whole story. So where do we start?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we would probably start with the kind of work that Impact does and what the actual day-to-day work of somebody that is a trainer at Impact does,
Sure.
specifically in written content. So as with almost any writing process, whenever you are going back and forth with clients and helping them learn all the different like parts and different things that are moving around with they ask you answer, one of the things that we do is content review. And this is a massive time commitment. So if you think about it, I have anywhere from 20 to 30 clients in any given week. And if all of them are sending me written content to review at 1,000 to 1,200 words per article, you're looking at 30,000 words if
Yeah.
everyone only sent in one article.
No, that
And
stacks
that's a
up.
lot.
Yeah, no, that's a huge amount. It's almost like a professor or a teacher grading all the papers from school. Like that's a lot to get through. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a
And
problem.
especially whenever we're pushing, yeah, for sure. And especially whenever we're pushing for people to do 3 a week.
Right.
So you take that 30,000, you multiply it by 3, you got 90,000 words on average that you're trying to get through in any given week.
Wow. Okay.
So there's me, there's Brianna, there's Lindsay, we've got Brian and Allison that are hopping in with content. We have Ange, we have lots of different people that are helping out with this to try to make it where we can get all of this content review back to people in 48 hours, which is what we usually tell them. Like we'll try to get it reviewed within 48 hours and then we'll have it back to you so that you can take those steps and learn hands-on, which is beautiful and very, very valuable. But again, big time commitment.
Right.
So
Well,
all of this
and
AI.
also just to interject, I'm sure they have their own deadlines and content schedules and strategies that they have to keep with. So that could create a holdup if you don't get back to them with feedback in time and get that loop closed. There's a ripple effect. So that's
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah, okay.
Especially when people are first starting out and they don't have a backlog of articles built up yet,
Right.
and they're just trying to get ahead of the curve. They want that done as fast as possible, and I don't blame them. That's one of the best ways that we can learn and the best things that we can do for the businesses that we work with. So
Hmm.
I digress. We had AI start coming out in the spring, and in the beginning, it was kind of trash, honestly. It was kind of a problem to work with. It would return a lot of very generic content and a lot of different stuff. But at Impact, we dove in head first. Marcus, I remember even back in the spring, he was like, "This isn't good yet, but it's gonna be, and we want to understand this whenever it gets good." So
Gotcha. So this is like the early stages of GPT, like version
yes.
3.0, or like before they've made all the updates and advances that they have
Yeah, like the
over.
free GPT that was
Right.
just playing around with it. You might use it to make an outline or summarize something, but it was still bad and you could tell a robot wrote it. Yeah,
Sure.
the Stone Age, right? Which was a year ago. But as we kind of dug in there and we started learning how to use the clunky version of ChatGPT, we started learning a whole lot of things. We learned what its limits were, how to talk to it that in a way that would produce results that you wanted, how to synthesize information. And then ChatGPT 4 came out and there were plugins. Do you know what plugins are? Have you used them?
I do. Yeah, Dolly is one of my favorite plugins right now. I love all the different. It's almost like the App Store now, where there's all these different companies and plugins that you can mess with. So you could get lost just experimenting in that space. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then I remember we started doing stuff with plugins, and then we went to the Impact Live event in New Orleans in the fall.
Hmm.
And so I was kind of out of the loop for about a week because we were in person in New Orleans, whatever. I just kind of put a hold on the AI stuff. Got back home, sat down on my laptop, opened up ChatGPT, start looking through. There's thousands of new plugins in just that single week.
Oh,
It
wow.
went from, oh, here's 3 or 4 cute little things I could do to, oh my goodness, I don't even know what all is in here.
Right. It exploded. Okay.
It did. It did. And it was during that time that I said, okay, maybe we need to start being able to do a little bit more actionable stuff. Like this isn't just going to create content. We could use it to replace some of the tasks that we have to do here at Impact. So my mind immediately went to content review because it's taking 15, 20 hours a week for multiple people to get that done. And that's a lot of time. That's half a salary. That's half of a workload. That's a lot
Right. So
for a single person.
you're looking for ways to find efficiencies and streamline this tedious process that you're in. Can you talk to a little bit about
Yeah.
the incentive of it? Because I know you've been very much focused on it because that you're just passionate about it. We're into it. I think we share that, right? A lot of people do here at Impact. But talk about Impact too and how they incentivized you and like what the process was like with that and how you've documented it and just walk people through that as well.
Oh yeah, our old pal Bob. All right, so Bob puts out this kind of challenge to the company a while back, and I don't remember exactly when we did that. It might have been right after New Orleans or right before, in the fall. And he said, "Listen, I'm going to offer this process, this AI experimentation process. Here's a couple of parameters. Here's some stuff I want you to write down while you're doing it." And then there's going to be bonuses available each quarter for people who complete these projects in a meaningful and an actionable way.
Yeah, some of the bonuses are
So,
pretty big too. Like up to $5,000 you could make depending on how impactful, pun
yes,
intended, that we could make it, right?
yeah, absolutely. They did come with a pretty heavy price tag. So I don't think anybody is going to turn their nose up to $5,000 at all.
Totally.
Um, so you had a little bit of a race there at Impact of people that wanted to get in there and wanted to learn and wanted to dive in and all of these different things. And then you had some people that were more incentivized than others. I would say the money was an incentivizer. Yes. And we're not gonna lie. We're not gonna sit
Of
here and say
course.
like we
No.
don't want,
Yeah, of course.
but the time saving is also an incentivizer as well.
Hmm.
And a big one. The better work-life balance that you can have in is always going to be better.
Yes. I love that. And I think that's what
Yeah.
everyone seeks is to try to find that work-life balance. And thankfully the culture here at Impact is very much focused on that too, where they don't want us working 50, 60 hours a week. They want us to do 40 and that's it. And if you can't, then we need to solve and find ways to make sure that you can accomplish what you need to in that time frame. So, but not every organization is like that. So it's I guess we're lucky on that front, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
it's a win-win. You might win some money, but more importantly, there's really a chance to create some efficiencies and save a lot of time and also help clients faster and maybe give them better results than they're already getting. So,
Yeah, I'm getting there.
all right. So yeah, I don't want to step over you. So what happened next? Where do we go from here?
All right. So I started trying to build a content review bot. I
Okay.
wanted to figure out a way that we could create a content reviewer that would go in, review clients' content, and then I had a couple of parameters, like goals that I set for myself. One, I wanted it to sound like an impactor. So whatever feedback it gave needed to be like in a question format. It needed to be Socratic. It needed to be friendly. It needed to be, all of these different things. It had to have some semblance of a personality. So like that was problem number one.
Okay.
Problem number two is that it need to be able to tackle lots of different types of content. So we have roofing organizations, tech companies, medical companies, dentistry, remodeling, like all trucking companies. We got all these different types of companies. And I wanted it to be able to speak to the unique challenges of each of those types of business.
Right. Because they're in very different industries depending on
Oh, yeah.
the type of business. Right.
Yeah. And you can't blanket feedback to all of those different things. What is an
Hmm.
acceptable terminology or reading level of a medical professional is different than what it might be for roofing. You're speaking to different audiences. So I
Totally.
wanted it to be able to understand that. And then finally, I wanted it to be something that we could implement with the processes that we currently have in place so that you didn't have to uproot the way that we had done content review. It would just, I could step to the side and the bot could step in That's the goal, right?
Especially for an end user experience, right? You want it to feel seamless. Yes,
Yes, I don't want to disrupt the way that our companies are currently used to getting their work done.
totally. Very cool.
So at the time, their custom GPTs, which I'll get to in a second, they hadn't been invented yet. So I, along with my significant other, did a little bit of work here. He's a web developer. Went in and started working with Zapier, I'm not entirely sure how you say it,
Yeah.
to create a link between a chat GPT bot that I built that would link it to our current system and allow it to talk to Google Docs. And that was actually kind of a nightmare. There was a lot of coding involved. There was a lot of different parts that moved around, all of these different
Yeah, I
things.
was gonna say that sounds really cool, but it also sounds complex. Like that's
It was.
yeah, sounds
It
complex.
was, yeah. We had to get API keys, and it was cracking me up because I went to Vin here at Impact and I said, hey, just so you know, this is what I'm doing. I'm getting this API key and I'm going to attach it to our Google Drive. And Vin is sending me a Zoom link immediately. He's like, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that. And I was like, what's an API key? I didn't know.
And for those who don't
And
know
he
out
said, no,
there,
you can't do
yeah, but and for those who don't know out there, Vin is our head of web strategy here at Impact. He's a web developer and all around like web expert. So that's really funny. Okay,
Great guy.
so he was
Great
trying
guy.
to get you trying to get you in the API game and understanding how this stuff worked, right?
Yeah. And yeah, you can't take an API key. API key basically just allows ChatGPT to escape its ChatGPT. It
Interesting.
allows it to like escape out of the portal and go other places. And so when I first tried to hook it to the Google Drive here at Impact, then almost had a heart attack because that would have given it access to everything here at Impact.
Oh,
So
like our
we didn't want
entire
to.
Google Drive would have been open. Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so that's where his miniature heart attack came from. And he said, absolutely not. No, 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 no. Stop right there. So we set up a shell Google Drive and attached it to that, like an empty Google Drive with nothing in there.
Okay.
Then we started making the code that would bring the where our clients currently submit their articles, dump it in the Google Drive. The Chat GPT bot would look at it, and then it would append, that's the word for it, append,
Append. Okay.
uh, the comments to the end of their document. And that
Okay.
was good.
Yeah,
And
I get
that
what you're
was good.
saying.
And that's what I wanted it to do. Yeah. And then a week later, we came out with custom GPTs. And that kind of changed the game. I did like months of work on this thing, and then custom GPTs came out and kind of blew it up. And that's where it gets really, really exciting. So I was hoping that we have the capability for me to actually show you how I built it.
Heck yeah, seeing is believing. I would love to see that. And it sounds like you were really trying to make it work with like outside the confines of what was there, and then they answered the call
Mhm.
with like, "Hey, we figured this out, and now you have custom GPT." So please show us. Take the screen. Do what you got to do. Yeah,
Exactly.
I'd love to see. I'm like fascinated with all this.
So it's way easier than you think it's going to be. I just went through that long-winded explanation because I want you to understand kind of what's actually happening under the hood of all of this stuff that these custom GPTs are allowing you to do.
Yeah, no, and I think it's good to paint that picture because it was difficult, and it was really hard to figure that out previously. But now that we have these tools, it's not so difficult anymore, and you can really
Yeah.
leverage it to your advantage, which you clearly are doing that. It's exciting to see that.
And I'm actually going to show you the back side of the Taya Content Reviewer. So in here, in this new interface that they have in ChatGPT 4, there are three main components. This over here is like your shell bot. This is going to allow you to interact with the bot while you're building it to test for things that may be wrong. This is another bot here on the left-hand side that is going to allow you to actually talk to the Chat GPT and teach it how to build itself, which is super cool.
Yeah, what? That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you have your configure tab. And in the configure tab, you get to pick a little image, like I made a fun little image on Canva. And then you give it a name and a little description. This description is what shows up here. And so I wanted this to be, this is the first thing a client sees whenever they open it. And so I wanted them to kind of get an idea of how to use it by reading that descriptor.
Gotcha.
And
So
then
so
here,
really, just to stop you quick, left side of the screen is really like you're configuring, you're building, and then the right side is more of like the end user preview of what it's going to
yep,
actually look like. Okay, got it.
that's precisely what it is. Then over here, this is what the instructions are what you used to think of as your prompt.
Okay.
And I didn't write these. the bot writes them for itself.
Mind blown. What? That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it wrote its own prompt. It's
So
super
cool.
neat. And then you can add your conversation starters, and those pop up down here to give people an idea of what they can do with the bot. And then here's your knowledge base. So in the knowledge base, I uploaded several different articles that allowed it to understand various things. So you remember one of my first problems was I wanted it to speak like an impactor.
Yes, I remember.
All right. So one of the things that I did was I went through old articles I had reviewed from people and copied and pasted my comments into just a plain Google Doc, exported it as a PDF, and then uploaded it in here. So it's just pages and pages of comments that I've left for people previously with no context. And it's pulling my language and the way that I structure and talk to people from that.
I get what you're saying. So this is real feedback, real comments that you wrote previously, and then you're uploading it so that it can almost analyze it and figure out how to speak in your voice, it sounds like.
Yep.
Wow.
It was very neat. And it
Wow.
wasn't nearly as hard to do as I thought it would be. I figured I would have to run through several different iterations, but I just gave it these random comments and it nailed it.
Wow.
Really neat. And then I have this publication checklist, which is all the things I normally check for in a client's article. So the structure, the wording, the grade level, read level, types of headers, that sort of thing, SEO components. I put those in a big list.
Okay.
And then from there, I set it up where I can share it with anyone with a link, and you can just literally copy and paste the link to your clients.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you send them this link, then they follow the prompts, they upload their articles, and voila. It just automatically starts doing its thing.
Yep. So check this out. I have an article written by my good friends over at Custom Built, and I'm just going to copy and paste this old article.
Sounds good. Yeah. And we love Custom Built. I just talked to Isabel not too long ago. So we're big fans of Custom Built.
They're the sweetest.
Yeah.
And then I'm just pasting it into this chat box.
Okay. So you literally copied the article, paste it, and hit send. And then it's going to analyze and do its thing. And look, it's already kicking stuff back. Wow.
It goes through, it talks about, it separates it out by the different portions of the article. Like this is the feedback about the introduction. What should we do? All of these different things, goes through the body copy and gives several points of feedback on each individual part.
Wow. I love this. And I can already see it's asking questions about the big five, and they ask you answer. And if it's based in the right structure and the right tone, wow, this is fascinating.
Isn't it neat? And then at the end, we'll let it finish thinking here. Oh, it's informative. It's leaning too heavily on promoting a single brand. It's maybe a little biased.
Look at that.
So maybe you could include customer testimonials. What are the different things that you could do? So let's say that.
That sounds pretty on brand too. I feel like that's feedback we normally give, where it's like we need to do less about me and us topics and more hearing directly from customers, hearing real stories and speaking in their voice and not me stuff. So it's working. That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah. So this part where it says, consider making the promise of solving the reader's problem more explicit.
Okay.
I can actually talk to it, which is something that was actually missing from our previous reviewers' situation. You couldn't do that in real time. And remember, I said 48 hours is what it normally took us to get back to our clients. And we've just done this in 48 seconds.
Yeah.
So if I go through here and I read this and it says we should make the promise of solving the reader's problem more explicit, I can say, how would you suggest I make the promise statement more explicit? And you can talk back and forth with it. It'll provide you with answers. It will provide you with examples, things that you could possibly make better, all of the things.
Fascinating. I'm blown away right now. So question for you. When you review this, right? So you put the article in, we're going through it exactly like we are right now. And like, let's say you have a question like you did, you type the prompt in. Do you feel like it gets you pretty close? Do you feel like you have to do a lot of work after to tweak it? Like where like when you get to a finished product, is it like 80% of the way there? Is it like ready to go back to the client? Like what's that look like?
Yeah, for sure. So what we do currently is we actually sent this link to our clients and we said, before you send this to your human reviewer, run it through the bot.
Okay. Okay.
And what ended up happening is people would run it through there, they would talk back and forth, they would make it all fancy, and then they would send it to us. And instead of me, our typical time before was to review a single article was around 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes to fully review one.
Mhm.
And now we're averaging around 5 or less minutes per article, where we're just doing a
Wow.
glance over and double checking everything. And almost invariably, they're good to go.
Wow. So you shaved off about 15 minutes per article. And when you're
Yeah.
talking about if we go back to the beginning of the conversation with the volume of articles that you and the other coaches and trainers had to get through, that's how much, so from a results standpoint, how much time are we saving? Like, what does that look like? And how has it changed the way that you guys are doing your jobs and the way that you're also helping our customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've noticed on the personal side, the clients or the impact side, that we are spending not zero time, but less time than we had been spending before. It doesn't completely replace us. I think it could someday. We're not currently like comfortable with letting go of that human element because it's such a big part here at Impact. But it does definitely cut down the time that we're spending while simultaneously allowing our content writers to understand and speak with the voice of they ask you answer much faster than they normally would have. There was a time when it would take 6, 8 weeks for you to really nail the structure of articles, but now they can go back and forth and have that figured out in 3 weeks, 4.
Wow.
It's awesome.
Exponentially faster. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Wow. So where do you see this going in the future? It sounds like you have it dialed in. Is there potential for it to be dialed in further? Like, is there more iterations, and are you going to
Yes.
keep fine tuning this? What does that look like as we move forward into next year?
Yeah, sure. So two things. As the content review bot is used, it learns. So you might have noticed whenever I had it pulled up, but there's been 67 different people that have used it thus far. And I have explicitly told the people that are in content training with me, if it gives you something and it feels wrong or it feels confusing, argue with the bot because it learns that way. It will actually evolve itself if it says, okay, 3 different people complained about the same thing. I'm not going to say that anymore. It will learn from that.
Wow.
Secondary from that, I can update it in real time. So if we say, we recently transitioned from just using the PET method in introductions to using that QQPP method. I can just go in and change the prompt that's in the back end, and it automatically updates that in real time, even for the people that already have the link to the bot.
That's amazing.
So I think there will be many iterations. We could conceivably change it every single day as
Right.
we learn more.
But if you update it, it also updates automatically. So you're not having to like create a new link and resend new links in this. It's
Right.
like, it seems pretty seamless from that standpoint. So for the end user and for clients, like they have one link, one source of truth. They don't have to worry about the back end stuff that's constantly happening. Wow.
They can just bookmark that guy and then never think about it again. Just pop in there and drop your articles, get your feedback, and go about your day.
I'm totally blown away by this. This just like now my wheels are spinning because I do a lot in the video space, right? So my wheels are going like one of the biggest problems we tend to have is the feedback loop. You shoot all this content, but then you have to edit it and then you have to review it and you have to give feedback. So it's got me thinking about ways that we could optimize. And I liked what you said too, that there's still a human element to it. It's you're not completely out of it, and maybe some way down the road that could be a potential, but as of right now, there's still that human piece, and it really is just helping you guys do your job more efficiently and helping clients faster and better. Wow.
I would encourage anybody that's thinking about getting into this to think about the part of your job that is stressing you out or is taking up the most mental overhead, and then think about how you can automate that to some degree. So even from the videography side of things, I'll give you a really quick example because I do have a videographer.
You're a
other than
videographer
these
as well. Yeah, no, we're same team.
I do wedding videos, right?
Right.
And it's my primary bread and butter outside of the impact world. I own a wedding video company. We hate making video and photo timelines where you go through and you give the couple like this is what time you need to be dressed for these pictures and this is where you need to be blah blah blah.
Oh,
So I actually
like the
create
day of schedule, sort of like
Mhm.
mapping out what's going to happen on their actual day. Okay.
Yep. And we created one that we gave it a link to Google Earth and a link to previous timelines we had made for people. And now it goes through and we tell it what time we start, how long we're contracted for, and the date and location, and it will spit out their timeline that's perfectly built for our parameters. And it even gives us like sunset is at X time at this location on this date. This is the time you need to be doing your sunset photos, all of those things. So the
That's am-
possibilities are endless.
that's amazing. Wow, that's amazing. So I think the challenge for our viewers and for people out there is think about ways that you can use AI to help automate some of the things that you do that maybe are a little arduous or mundane, and that you can automate it quickly. It'll help you do your job faster and better, and you can focus on more of the high level stuff that you really should be focused on.
Yeah, you can get back to the creative or emotional or person focused bits of your job that are more enjoyable, frankly, and oftentimes more important.
Wow, Mandy, I'm blown away. Thank you so much for your time and for being on the show and for showing everybody this really cool demo. Your experiment, I don't think it's an experiment. It's in practice now. You're using it. Clients are benefiting from it. So really great job. Before we go, take a look at the camera. Let people know where they can get in touch with you if they have follow-up questions or if they want to talk about AI or anything to that effect. Where can they reach you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can contact me via email at myork@impactplus.com. You can reach out to me on the Impact Plus community if you are a part of that, or even just LinkedIn. I have a pretty active LinkedIn profile.
Sounds great. Mandy, thanks for enlightening us on all things AI and showing us what you have created. I'm super excited and motivated. I can't wait to go get after it. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you on the next show.